Well, good evening. This is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on the 3rd of November, which is a Friday evening, and of course the clocks go back this weekend. Oh, winter's coming on. Anyway, what we're talking about this evening is, I think, a direct web bot hit. Okay, and there's some other stuff I want to get into about the subject because it is a fascinating situation to see unfolding right now, and I'm talking about some of the scandals that are now in Wall Street and the Harvey Weinstein and all of the Hollywood stuff that's going on. Anyway, I'm going to quote directly from the last WebBot report, and it's under the global population section. The datasets have global pop via internet being reactive to information floods that are described as draining of energy to absorb. These sets are describing a flood that is going to wash over the global body politic as scandals and excesses and crimes come pouring out over humanity. Data growth in sets that are focused on deluge, overwhelming inundation and other language going to the flood of information. The information sets are dominated in impact and duration values by descriptors including scandals, litany, in a liturgical meaning including a list of the dead, and nautical and a list of missing at sea, legends of large crimes, arguments around weapons, accidental damaging weapons discharge, and many other sets going to power sources. And actually, in reading that last little piece, we've had the Las Vegas shooting, which is a weapons discharge. There was an interesting story in the paper the other day about two women who were lost at sea, going from one of the Tahitian islands to another, and they've apparently got lost in a storm. Well, they're now being questioned. I mean, they were 3 months at sea, lost, and they're now being questioned because the emergency beacon that sends out a radio signal wasn't activated, and also that when they said they ran into the storm that threw them into the middle of the ocean, it doesn't line up with NASA data of storms. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I am going to cut to some of the articles that are flying around the internet and even the mainstream media these days. Okay, so this is where we're going to begin. This is the CNN website, and it is the incomplete list of powerful men accused of sexual harassment after Harvey Weinstein. And here he is. Love on the rocks, Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein is one of these people. He is that piece of fruit or the block in the tower that you take out. There's a stack of fruit there, and you take out one, and the whole thing collapses. Or the sticks thing, when you just pull out one stick and the whole thing just comes tumbling down. And Harvey Weinstein happened to be that key. Okay, and so we move on. Kevin Spacey, there's been another allegation against Kevin Spacey, another child or another actress come forward who was a child actor, 14 years old, and has said that Kevin Spacey tried to rape him the same way as he did with the other young lad. What's his name? Rapp. James Toback, he has denied the accusations. Ben Affleck, who is supposed to be a protege of Harvey Weinstein. George Bush, oh my God. They tried to explain it away by saying that because he's had a stroke, his arm falls into the lap of people every so often. Chris Savino, there you go. Nickelodeon fired the creator of The Loud House. after a dozen women accused him. Roy Price. Going to dining, John Besh. Media, Mike Halperin. Mike Oreskes. Lockhart Steele, editorial director for Vox Media, was fired, the company said. Okay, so there's a pretty good list right there. Okay, so we're going to flip over to this is the worst one. This is the worst one. This has just happened. New York Post. This is November the 3rd, which is today. Portfolio manager accused of raping, beating women in penthouse dungeon. Okay, so a former portfolio manager for an investment fund founded by financier George Soros sexually abused women at a Manhattan penthouse dungeon, according to a $27 million Brooklyn federal suit. Now, it's interesting that George Soros is connected to, guess what, Comet Ping Pong Pizza. He made a donation to Comet Ping Pong Pizza during Hillary Clinton's election, and apparently he is a frequenter of that restaurant. So here we have Howie Rubin, 62, whose high-stakes dealing was featured in the best-selling books Liar's Poker and The Big Short, rented the lavish Metropolitan Tower pad in Midtown to indulge in brutal sex with women whom he paid between $2,000 and $5,000 per session, according to the suit filed Thursday. 3 unidentified plaintiffs in the case, including 2 Playboy playmates, claim the married father raped and beat them to the point that they needed extensive medical attention, court papers say. At the $8 million penthouse, they were shown to a side room featuring ropes, chains, and sex toys, along with other BDSM equipment. Rubin gagged, tied up, and viciously abused the women, even punching one in the head, the suit filed by civil lawyer John Balstriere said. "I'm going to rape you like I raped my daughter," Rubin barked during one of the alleged assaults. In one session, he beat one of the women's breasts so badly that her implant flipped, the papers state. The former Bear Stearns trader paid her $20,000 to repair the damage. One plaintiff was tied up, gagged, and shot with a cattle prod and a goin before Rubin allegedly raped her, according to the filing. Rubin, who collaborated with 2 female fixers and a lawyer, had the women sign non-disclosure agreements, the paper states. The trio sought to cover up Rubin's sexual misconduct and criminal abuse of women, and to serve as a cover for his wide-ranging, get this, wide-ranging human trafficking scheme. You see what I mean? This has suddenly got legs. And here we have the Daily Beast. Dozens and dozens of Hollywood sex assault victims coming forward, lawyer says. Okay, so this is just, it's like a wildfire. And because people have realized that you can try people outside of court now, in the court of public opinion, because I can tell you Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey are washed up. They're gone, they're done, they're over, finito, it's over, nada, it's finished. They will never work again. They will never work again in the Hollywood industry. They will be so reviled. I can see people jumping out of windows over this, okay, because these people have egos as it is, and to be caught out like this, to be blindsided like this in the public by, thousands and thousands and thousands of hits. I'll tell you, if you want to see an interesting movie or show on Netflix, it's called Black Mirror, and it's called The World's Most Hated. Check it out. It's an interesting story, and it's actually got a lot to do with this. So, Corey Feldman says actor John Grissom molested him in the 1980s. Oh my goodness. No, we don't want to subscribe to your newsletter, but we will read the article. So Stand By Me actor encouraged Grissom on Thursday to turn himself into police. Now is your time, Feldman said on Thursday. Be a man for the first time and come forward yourself. Let it be known and you will be dealt with in a much more tolerant way, I'm sure. However, if you do not, we are coming for you. And so Corey Feldman has basically said he is going to make a documentary and he is going to name names. And I don't think Corey Feldman will be the last person to come forward and make a documentary and name names. Because when you Google Jimmy Savile and you see his connection to British royalty and British politicians, to the point where they wanted to have an inquiry in the House of Commons, which I believe is 660 people, and they couldn't find a single person who was far enough away from the problem that could be considered at arm's length. So what does that tell you? You think about that for a second. I'm going to let you digest that for a second. And like I say, you get ready, because this is going to be of staggering proportions. Okay, so now that you've had a moment to digest that, the impact of this is absolutely staggering on many, many levels. And I think personally that you are going to see an outing that we have never seen before, certainly in our memories. And now this has started. This is a dam that has burst open. And I don't think you are going to stop this dam. It is going to continue on. And interesting enough, I read today in the paper, in the Globe and Mail. So I saw this today. This woman is called Cindy Gallop, and she's calling. She's in the ad industry, and she's calling for a Weinstein moment. And she put out a call. She said, I always knew it was bad. I had no idea it was this bad, Miss Gallop said in an interview. I'm appalled by what I'm finding in my inbox. And what happened was that she put a call out. And she said if anybody has experienced sexual harassment in the workplace, to email her. And immediately her email box just filled up with stories from men and women. And that this is just absolutely, completely across the ad world, and I'm sure in many, many other workplaces this is going on. But what I really liked about this story is that she reminded people that men were being harassed too. Okay, that this is a power situation. You know, this is, you know, we're sort of seeing this as a sexual situation, and it is, but this is like the rape thing. You know, rape is not really about sex. Rape is about power. Okay, rape is about having control over the person, and same with this situation. You know, the sexual assaults and favors that are forced upon women are more than just sex. It is the power trip that is going on. And of course she reminds people that both men and women who saw this going on kept quiet because their jobs depended on keeping quiet. And this is so common. This is a sad testimony, and this is part of the power structure, and this is what happens when a psychopath takes over control of the situation. It's just chaos. It's fear from top to bottom, fear, intimidation and bullying, because basically what the psychopath needs you to do is to obey him or her without question. That you will shut up because you know that he's a psychopath, and he knows that you know, and he wanted you to know, so that you would be scared that this person might do anything. Not just lose your job, but they're in a position of power where they can hire people to tail you, to harass you, to attack you, to do anything. I mean, you just have no idea how it feels when you're a working person and you're torn between the choice of putting food on the table and accepting behavior which is absolutely freaking outrageous. Okay, so as I said, this is a WebBot hit. This is a direct WebBot hit. This flood of information, and what I find interesting about this is that basically we're looking at trial in the court of public. Okay, but none of these people, apart from one, the stockbroker, has been charged with anything yet, and they're looking to find charges against Harvey Weinstein on allegations of rape, because there are 2 new allegations against Harvey Weinstein, and of course Dustin Hoffman's got caught up in this too. So this is going to spread like wildfire, and you can see the list of names is growing longer. And with the stockbroker, this shows you that it's now jumped out of the Hollywood sphere. And why is this important? Because basically the people who run the world, they need Hollywood to put out their propaganda. You know, I don't know whether you realize this, but a lot of the films that you see that Hollywood put out are basically to help condition you to accept the stories that the government puts out. So, for example, you know, you see these movies. I saw a movie with Brad Pitt, for example, you know, where he's in a Chinese prison, and special ops, you know, fly into the prison, you know, they grab Brad Pitt, and out he goes, boing, and they even capture another prisoner whilst they're in the, you know, this is the most guarded facility in China, apparently. And, you know, this preps you to believe that, you know, 3 helicopters flew in and grabbed Obama. And you can probably tell by that statement that I have some curiosity about that, because, yeah, that's definitely a questionable thing. So, you know, they prep you. Hollywood preps you to see the events, to try and tell a story. You know, there were so many propaganda films came out of Hollywood, you know, around the Iraq war, you know, with the Hurt Locker and this kind of stuff, Black Hawk Down, to basically portray the American side as, oh my God, you know, here we are in the middle of a riot, and you know, we're fending off, you know, virtually, you know, rioting heathens, or how dangerous it is to defuse a bomb, and we have families at home, and all of this kind of stuff. And you know, so this basically is promoting the idea of war. And I remember as a child, you know, Pathé News, when I go to see a movie, you know, Pathé News would come on, and it would all be about the Second World War and our brave soldiers and the ships and the planes and blah 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 blah, and people pinning medals, and you know, the dead being you know, put on board ship to be brought home to be buried. And so, you know, it gave a one-sided picture of the war, of who actually lost, because there were a lot more losers in the Second World War, and so on and so forth. So they've lost their propaganda machine, and now that it's jumping into you know, the financial world, and it's a very short hop into the political world. And of course, you know, we have Wiener, of course. I don't know whether he's going to be prosecuted yet, but you know, he used to be a congressman, and of course he was married to Huma Abedin, who was Hillary Clinton's best friend and secretary, and Bill Clinton is connected to Jeffrey Epstein, who has Lolita Island, who's connected to Jimmy Savile in England, who is connected to all kinds of notorious figures. So this is huge. This is going to be a landslide. This is going to be an explosion, and you are going to see people that you never, ever, ever dreamed would be into underage children, girls, men, boys. I mean, look at Kevin Spacey. You know, I mean, I only saw Kevin Spacey as an actor, and of course I thought he was a brilliant actor, like so many people. And so this is where the dreams are going to be shattered by the exposure. And especially when you see, as I said, the revelation of the stockbroker there, who wrote the Big Short, for goodness sake. Anyway, this is an interesting topic. I'm going to be watching this all winter long, and I may make a few more videos on it depending on how it goes. But basically, get ready, get your seatbelts on, hold on to your stomachs, because it's going to be brutal watching the exposure of these criminal, psychopathic pedophiles. And of course it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because Harvey Weinstein, for example, and Kevin Spacey are virtually outcast now. House of Cards has been cancelled. The crew has now come forward. There's a CNN interview where basically every single member of the crew is damning Kevin Spacey as using inappropriate comments, power tripping on people, grabbing people inappropriately, basically dominating the entire set. So, like I said, this is going to be a flood. So get your seatbelts on, get your popcorn, and hang on tight. Okay, so this is Hound Dog Steve, and please, if you liked this video, like and subscribe below. Click on the bell so that you always get updates from my videos, and we will talk to you real soon. Take care now. See ya.